Hi and welcome to Dirtbike Magazine's off-road 4-stroke video series. In these videos, we ride all of the off-road 4-strokes available in the US today. And today we're getting our first chance, well actually our second, maybe third chance to ride the 2023 KTM 350XCF. Now you got a little glimpse of this motorcycle in our overview feature of the 2023 KTM off-road and motocross models from Redbud. Now we didn't get a lot of time because I had to ride all of those motorcycles in one day. We got the 350XCF back on the West Coast, and there's a couple things that we like, a couple things that we don't like. It might sound really petty, but we love how KTM comes with handguards on their motorcycles. They're off-road motorcycles. People are going to be off in the brush and in the trees and stuff like that. These bikes come with really good off-road handguards. Another thing that this bike has, it has an 18-inch rear wheel with a Dunlop AT81. In the past, KTM has used an AT81 in the front. They've made a change this year to the Dunlop MX33 motocross tire because the testing department felt like it gave it better feel up front and better traction up front. We got to kind of agree with that the bike definitely does have better traction up front. The other thing that this bike has that the motocross model does not have is a slightly larger tank. This is based off of the new chassis, new bodywork, new frame, new kind of design when it comes to limited squat, and the frame has a backbone now to where the back suspension action isn't supposed to kind of overpower the front suspension action. If you want all the in-depth specs on this motorcycle, head over to dirtbikemagazine.com. We're gonna go hit the trails and then come back and tell you what we think. So it's kind of like a broken record. With this new chassis, the bike is going to take a lot of breaking in. This bike only has probably 4 or 5 hours on it, but in our experience with this new chassis, the longer we have on the bike, the better the bike starts flexing and moving around. This bike is definitely a stiffer overall feel than what last year's is, but not really a bad thing. The suspension settings, the softer suspension settings that the XCF comes with compared to the motocross model actually makes it have a little bit more rider comfort. Again, we do like the lock-on ODI grips. The larger tank is always a good thing for the trails. This tank actually sticks out a little bit more on the sides, and in some situations we found ourselves catching our boot coming back from the transition, especially on the clutch side. You kind of slide your boot back from being maybe stuck out next to the radiator shroud. It kind of just feels a little funny. It never got stuck there, but it just, like I said, made it feel a little bit funny. We do like the additional traction up front with the Dunlop MX33. The power on the 350, especially the new 350, is awesome for trails. This bike, it's not too much, it's not too little. It's kind of just right when it comes to actual power delivery. Whether you're in the aggressive map or the standard map, it's got more than enough power to do whatever you want to do on the trail, and even on the track, it's got good power. You have to rev it a little bit more than what the 450 you do, but not as much as you do on the 250. The quick release air box off the side is always a great thing when you gotta access the air filter. The 18-inch rear wheel does give it a little bit more comfort off-road and gives it a little bit more flat prevention. Another thing that we like that KTM does is KTM puts high quality DID chains on their bikes, so you don't have a lot of stretching and you can actually use the stock chain for a longer version of time before you have to change it. One thing we found out with the new placement of the engine, it puts a little bit more stress on the swing arm chain guide, and they wear out a lot faster than what the previous years did. So for our guys that are going on long trail rides, keep an eye on that. The XCF model does come with a skid plate straight off the showroom floor. And again, that's kind of like the handguards. It's an off-road bike, it needs it. Kudos to KTM for doing that. The one thing that was kind of odd to us, that they're using the old style gas cap on this oversized tank for the XCFs. And sometimes when it gets cold on a trail ride, you go to push that button down to release that gas cap and it doesn't want to release. Odd thing for them to use the old style gas cap, but they must have had their reasons. Up front on the WP fork, you notice that all of the KTMs across the board, and we think it's a great thing for off-road, they come with the wraparound fork guard. Protects more of the lower fork tube. That's just a plus. The more protection you can get, especially for off-road, the better. All of our test riders that have got on this motorcycle absolutely love it. It's just enough power. It's got the handling that they want. Maybe a little bit on the stiff side, but with the softer suspension settings compared to the motocross model, it's definitely a lot more rider comfort. There's stuff that we've come to expect with KTM, like the really strong Brembo brakes, the hydraulic clutch, all of the controls on the one side. It kind of makes it a little bit better. The one thing we are noticing is that kill button and start button are a little bit stiffer than previous years. There isn't the kind of comfort factor. You have to push it pretty hard to make them actually engage. Just a little tiny thing, but something we've definitely noticed across the board. But like we said, everybody that has ridden this bike thinks that it is a great off-road bike. KTM did make some major changes to it. So we're liking what they did in the power department. Just enough power, not too much. We are going to do a lot more testing when it comes to chassis and suspension setup to kind of find the happy medium, but this bike is a great motorcycle and it fits a wide variety of people. If you got a little bit more time on your hands and you want to see some other off-road four-stroke videos, hit the video thumbnail now and don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date to all of our latest releases. We're going to have a lot of off-road four-strokes 2023 models coming out in the next few months, so stay tuned.